Morning. Well, almost afternoon. How you doing, guys? You all right? Just not really had much to say over the past few months. Working from home has been a bit tricky. It's been a difficult time for everybody. We're just about getting back to a little bit of new normal. So I'm just wondering, how many of you out there feel that your mental health, depression, illness, anxiety defines you as a person? It's an interesting concept if you think about it. We are the people we are because of the illness we have. We act in a certain way, we do certain things, we're defined by the things that we do because we are depressed, or because we have a mental health issue, or because we have anxiety. So you need to flip that around a little bit. So does the anxiety make me the person I am, or am I the person I am because of the anxiety I have? Two very different questions. Very different questions. I went through a phase of being worried about taking medication or treatment for my depression, stroke, anxiety, stroke, PTSD, because I was more worried about becoming the person that I was, if that makes sense. So, and in my head, and with the depression and everything else, I didn't like that person. So I was kind of like, but if I take medication and get back to being that person, I won't like that person. But then another way of looking at it was, did the depression make me the person I didn't like? And therefore, when I take the medication, will it turn me into a person that I do like, or that other people will like? Now, I'm renowned for having absolutely no filters whatsoever. I don't care. I am literally not interested in what people think about me, what society thinks about me. I have a set of internal values. I have a set of internal rules. I agree with loyalty, love, friendship, and I'll give you the one chance. And if you blow it, see you later. Simple as that. And I'll literally not talk to you for years. Really won't bother me at all. Now, taking the medication for my depression hasn't altered that. In fact, it's brought it more to the top. So, whilst I was suffering from depression, PTSD, were those bits of me suppressed? And was that adding to my depression? Because I couldn't say to people, you know what, you're talking shit. You really are talking a load of rubbish. And no, because I know what you've said about me, and I know what you've done, and I know how it's worked, and I've read it and everything else, blah, blah. I know you've told lies about me, everything. So I'm just wondering, how do we define us as people? Yes, we have a set of rules, but they're society's rules. We have a set of rules as people. We try to live by those rules. So what happens when the rules that we try to live by in some way increase or heighten the depression or the mental health that we have? Do we then withdraw into ourselves? And that's when you get the cheer up. So be you. What are you mardy about? Come on, let's go out, let's have a laugh. So then when you do go out and have a laugh, you have that laugh because you are forcing yourself to have that laugh. You are forcing yourself to be a person that this person remembers you as. It's an interesting way of putting it. Do I like the person I'm becoming? Seriously? Yes, I do. I would never have done this a year ago, 2 years ago, sat here and said to people, this is what I am, this is what I'm doing, etc., because it just wouldn't have been something that would have been high on my list of things to do. I would have suffered anxiety, I would have suffered stress about it, I would have been nervous about it, I just wouldn't have done it at all. Now I'm sitting here, I've got over 1,000 subscribers listening to what comes out of my mouth, and I'm like, wow, hold up, how's that work? If you look at my very first videos, I hope that you can see a change. I hope that you can see over the last, 9 to 12 months that things have got better. Let's not lie, they've got better, but over the past sort of month or so, there's been some real dark days and some dark nights, and I'm now managing to talk myself out of wanting to tie a rope around my neck and having that spot picked out in the car and all those things. I'm now actually beginning to reason with myself, whereas before, that reason just wasn't there. I was talking to a friend at the weekend, had a really good, sort of well needed catch up with a few people on Saturday, and I was talking to a guy then, and he was saying that he'd often thought about maybe taking his own life, and the thing that stopped him was the reaction that him taking his own life would have on the people around him, his family, his friends, me, a couple of other guys that were there. Whereas I kind of disagreed and said, well, when I was at my lowest, I was completely the opposite to that. I wanted to kill myself because I thought that the people I care about and who care about me would have been better off without me. And I think that's the difference. That's the tipping point between normal thoughts of, leaving this world and not quite so logical thoughts of leaving this world. Now, obviously, my family would have missed me. They would have missed me. But in my state of mind then, I just thought to myself, well, you know what? They'll get over it. They'll find someone else. I'm a shit person. I'm a shit dad. I'm a shit husband. They'll love it. They'll get over it and they'll go find somebody else. And it's not until I get to where I am now and I think, well, actually, the damage that I would have caused them would have been lifelong. I would have took the easy way out. I'd have been gone. 5 minutes, see you. That would have been it. They would have had to have lived with that. Every anniversary of my death, they would have. And my wife's done it before. They would have questioned every decision they made. They would have questioned every answer they gave. They just really would have suffered. So, am I the person I was, or the person that I was defined by the anxiety and depression that I had? Now, I'm a firm believer of you never get over depression ever. It's always with you. It's always there. It's always at the back of your mind. We just come up with different ways of coping with it. Coping mechanisms, brilliant. Coping mechanisms' worst enemy is this. Just here. This brain here. The inability to switch it off. The inability to actually argue with it. And there's a really good book on Audible called Managing My Chimp. Cracking. I've listened to it 3 or 4 times. I used to listen to it on the way to work and back. And it's about the internal arguments that you have in your head. And it's about how to win them. So you'll have this argument and the chimp is, he's there. He's there. He's like, yeah, tell him. Yeah, you have a go at him. You tell him. And it's about having that conversation with your chimp. Not an argument, because then the chimp's won. It's about having a conversation with that chimp and coming out of it in a calm manner. So it comes down to, so if somebody says something that upsets you, so what? So what? If somebody does something that annoys you, 12 months ago, I'd have been ready to rip their head off. That would have been a full-blown argument. Now, it's like, I am. Because there's bigger battles to be won. There's bigger things to worry about. You can't worry about tomorrow because it hasn't happened yet. The past has already happened and you've lived through it. Like we said before, the 3 R's. Reflection, resetting, reminding, all of those things help us to become better people. Are we better? I hope so. I have an awful lot of people reaching out to me and telling me the things that I say and the things that I do are quite good. I suppose I still struggle with any form of compliments or reassurance or anything like that. I like to be straight down the line. The question is, how do we define ourselves and the people that we are? And how do we tell the world that that mental health and depression doesn't define me. So I am not my illness. That sounds a bit of a cliche, but I am not my illness. And I think once people start to realise that and begin to understand that, then we'll be able to start breaking down these barriers, start breaking down these walls, and people will come up and say to you, how you doing? And they won't worry about the answer because it's an illness. That's all it is. There was a very, very, very sad thing I read the other day. There's a lady called Tony that I follow on Twitter, and she's had a journey. She has had a journey, and she's reaching out and trying to help out to the Thin Blue Line. And you know, at the moment, the news is full of relevant and important things, but I think sometimes the argument is lost in the small things. I'll leave it at that. But this lady Tony put something out the other day that, you know, she was expecting some bad news, and she was hoping that it wasn't what she thought it was. So I kind of looked at it and I thought, okay, all right, fair enough. The next day, it turns out that yet another young, I think it was another young police officer had taken his own life. Now, guys, let's help people. Let's get out there and let's help these people. These people protect us. What goes through? Well, sadly, I know what goes through a person's mind when they plan that journey of exiting the world. You know, I hate the term suicide because it kind of implies something illegal. Taking your own life. There's no nice way of saying that somebody killed themselves. No nice way of saying it at all, sadly. But these are the barriers that we've got to get over. We've got to stop pussyfooting around people and start saying, it's a bit like, you know, cognitive behaviour therapy. You know, you've got to admit what you've done wrong before you can start looking at the things to do right. You've got to start looking deep inside and find those things that set you on that path. Now, I know this thing. I know the things that set me on the path. I know what happened, how it happened, why it happened. Doesn't make it easy. Certainly doesn't make it any easier at all. But it makes me as a person a different person. So I'm hopefully coming out at the end. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Live. I'm hopefully going to come out at the other end. You know, I've now built up a much better relationship with my children. Hopefully a much better relationship with my wife. I believe I've got some really, really, really strong and loyal friends around me. You know, it may be a small circle of people, but that's what I need. I don't need a massive circle of people. There's no reason to have a massive circle of people. So I think the takeaway message is, don't let your illness define you. However, also listen to your illness, because that will make you the person that you want to become. Now, I know you'll watch these videos and you go, what the hell is he talking about? You sit down and think about it. There are maybe 3 stages to the depression bit. This is just me. Remember, I'm not 3 stages for me. There was 7 years of me sinking into a depression without noticing it, without realising it. I had on the mask. I had the happy depression bit. I was the guy that would go out and get drunk. I was the guy that would go out and have a laugh. I was still there if you picked the phone up and everything else. Then there was the depression bit, the 2 failed attempts, not being allowed home, being classed as a danger to the people around me. You know, having to go through a year of various things that I had to do to get myself back into a situation whereby I could sit here and do this, and I could sit there and I could talk to people. And now there's this bit. So a bit like the 3 R's. Now there's this bit. So this bit for me is kind of a reinvention of me, because I don't want to be the person I was 7 years ago, because that person 7 years ago was struggling to just breathe and talk and walk at the same time. I'm very successful, he says. I'm relatively successful in what I do and how I do it. Like I say, I've got good friends around me and everything else. And that's me now, not me then. So the people around me now know what's happened, how it's happened, why it's happened. They know the triggers, they understand the triggers, and they are genuine when they say, "You're all right," because they know me. Find those people, confide in those people, trust those people to know when you're not right. That's what you need. Don't need people around you that are going, "Oh, come on, mate. Oh, no. You need people around you that are going to turn around and go, "You're in a shit place." I know you are, because of this, this, and this. And that, for me, works a lot better than 6 weeks of somebody saying, "Let's have a little chat about what's going on, shall we? Let's have a little look at where we are. Can you imagine a place where, can you imagine a time? Can you just tell me what's been going on and how you feel about it?" No, I don't. I want somebody to turn around and say, "Jake, you're being a dick." And then I'll go, you know why? There you go. Anyway, just me rambling again. Have a good time, guys. Give Project 13 UK a check. Very, very good. Alex, who runs that, happy to have your blogs, happy to answer any questions. We do a Zoom meeting, most Wednesdays. You can drop in. There's no need for a video or anything like that. I'm Samurai Viking. You're brilliant. See you later.